Our world feels more unpredictable by the day. External events swirl beyond our grasp, yet the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius offered a timeless anchor. He wrote that our peace of mind depends not on external events, but on the quality of our own judgments. This is the foundation of a future-proof mindset, a mental fortress built not on fragile predictions, but on unshakable inner principles. By the end of this exploration, you will possess a complete toolkit of 25 Stoic practices to build that resilient mind. We will uncover how ancient wisdom can disarm modern anxiety, and why deliberately imagining failure can be your greatest source of strength. What is the one thought that most often disrupts your peace? What if you could face your day without fear of what might go wrong? This is the promise of the first transformative practice, the morning premeditation of adversity. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, which translates to the premeditation of evils, but do not mistake this for simple negative thinking. This is a strategic exercise in mental inoculation. By deliberately visualizing potential challenges, from minor frustrations to significant setbacks, you are not inviting trouble. You are building a psychological immune system. The Roman philosopher Seneca was a master of this technique. He advised that we should anticipate potential losses, not to live in sorrow, but to deepen our appreciation for what we currently possess and to fortify our minds against future shocks. He wrote that we should often replay in our minds the loss of our possessions, our status, and even those we love. This sounds severe, yet its purpose is profound. By confronting these possibilities in the safe space of your own mind, you drain the real event of its power to surprise and devastate you. Consider a practical example. Perhaps you have a difficult conversation scheduled with a colleague. Before it happens, spend a few minutes in quiet thought. Mentally rehearse the scenario where the conversation becomes tense. Imagine them reacting with defensiveness or anger. Visualize yourself maintaining your composure, listening calmly, and responding with clarity rather than emotion. Or think about a project you are leading. Briefly contemplate what you would do if a key part of it failed. By pre-living this potential failure, you are no longer paralyzed by the fear of it. You have already walked through the steps you would take, and your anxiety loses its grip. So, what is one common worry that surfaces for you each day? Is it a traffic jam, a critical email, or a task you might fail? Now, consider how spending just 2 minutes each morning mentally walking through that very situation could fundamentally change your reaction when, or if, it actually occurs. The day is over, now comes the most important part. While the morning prepared you for what was to come, the evening is for understanding what actually happened. This is the second practice, the Stoic evening review, a quiet and systematic audit of your day. Think of it not as a harsh self-critique, but as a gentle yet honest conversation with yourself, aimed solely at fostering self-awareness and continuous growth. The Stoic teacher Epictetus placed immense importance on this nightly ritual. He instructed his students to diligently examine their impressions from the day, to question the initial judgments that sparked their reactions. He famously said that it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about events. Your evening review is the process of investigating those very judgments. Here is a simple, structured way to approach it. First, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I act with virtue, perhaps with courage when it was easier to stay silent, or with patience when frustration was tempting? Acknowledge these moments. Then ask, where did my judgments fail me? Did I interpret a colleague's brief email as a personal slight and react defensively? did I decide that a traffic jam was a catastrophic ruin of my morning, and then let that decision dictate my mood for hours? Finally, ask, what can I learn from this? The goal is not to punish yourself for a mistaken impression, but to see it clearly so you can recognize it faster next time. Take a moment now and recall one moment from your own day. Perhaps you felt a flash of anger at a minor inconvenience, or you assumed the worst about someone's intentions. Why did that specific judgment feel so true in that moment? By tracing back the chain of your thoughts each night, you gradually untangle the automatic reactions that steal your peace, building a mind that responds to the world with clarity, not just reflex. The single most liberating idea in Stoicism is this distinction. Some things are within our power while others are not. Your opinions, your impulses, your desires, and your aversions, these are your own. Everything else, from the weather to your reputation, from the past to the actions of others, is not. This is the core teaching from the very first line of the Enchiridion, the handbook of the philosopher Epictetus. He states it with breathtaking simplicity, making it the foundation upon which all other Stoic practices are built. Understanding this is not a passive intellectual exercise. It is an active tool for mental freedom, a filter for your daily experiences that instantly eliminates a massive source of frustration and wasted effort. When you truly internalize this principle, you stop fighting unwinnable battles against reality itself. Think about the last time you were stuck in traffic. The traffic jam itself, the red taillight stretching to the horizon, that is entirely outside your control. You did not cause it, and you cannot wish it away. But your judgment about the traffic, your decision to become agitated and curse your luck, that is entirely within your sphere of power, or consider receiving critical feedback at work. The words spoken by your manager are an external event, a thing not up to you. Your internal reaction, however, your choice to listen without defensiveness, to sift the feedback for useful truth, and to decide on a course of improvement, that is 100% yours to command. The frustration we feel in life almost always stems from a confusion of this boundary. We exhaust ourselves trying to control the uncontrollable, while neglecting the absolute sovereignty we possess over our own mind. So take a moment and bring to mind 3 things that are currently bothering you. It could be a worry about a future event, a lingering resentment from a past conversation, or anxiety about what someone thinks of you. Now, write them down if you can and draw a simple line down the center of a page. On one side, list everything that falls outside your control. On the other, identify the single thing that always remains within it, your own response. This act of sorting is not just an list-making task. It is the first step in reclaiming your energy and directing it where it can actually make a difference. What if making yourself slightly uncomfortable was the key to becoming unshakable? This is the provocative heart of the 4th practice, voluntary discomfort. The Stoics did not see this as a form of self-punishment, but as a vaccine for the soul. By willingly embracing small, manageable hardships, you inoculate yourself against the shock and despair of future misfortune. This philosophy has deep roots, tracing back to the cynics who inspired the Stoics, figures like Diogenes who lived in a barrel to prove that happiness requires very little. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus powerfully argued for this training. He said that we must accustom ourselves to be able to eat sparingly, to endure hunger and thirst, and to wear simple clothing. His point was not that we should live in perpetual deprivation, but that we must prove to ourselves that we can. It is a training exercise for the spirit, building the muscle of contentment so that when life inevitably takes something away, your foundation remains solid. The Roman statesman Seneca practiced this regularly. He would periodically adopt a lifestyle of poverty for a few days, sleeping on a hard bed and eating only plain bread. He did this to remind himself that these conditions were not evils, but merely different. He wrote that he was testing his own resilience, ensuring he was not soft and terrified of losing his wealth. The goal is to sever the automatic link between comfort and happiness in your mind. Practical applications for this are simple and everywhere. You could start your day with a 1-minute cold shower, not for the health benefits, but for the mental victory of choosing discomfort and emerging unfazed. You could skip a meal intentionally, not as a diet, but to feel the pang of hunger and realize it passes without catastrophe. You could choose to walk somewhere instead of driving, embracing the minor effort. Each small act is a message to your deepest self, a declaration that you are not a slave to your comforts. So this week, what one small comfort will you voluntarily forego? Will you leave your coat behind on a slightly chilly day? Will you turn off the entertainment and sit in quiet for 30 minutes? The specific act does not matter nearly as much as the conscious choice. It is in these small, self-imposed challenges that you build the unshakable confidence that you can handle whatever life decides to throw your way. From the quiet solitude of your evening review, lift your gaze upward. Imagine looking down on your life from the perspective of the stars. See your city as a tiny cluster of lights, your neighborhood a mere speck, and the room you are sitting in invisible. This expansive shift in viewpoint is the fifth practice, the view from above, a powerful exercise in objective reflection used by the Stoics to cut anxiety down to its true size. It is the art of seeing your life and its troubles within the grand, sweeping context of the cosmos and history. This was a recurring theme in the personal writings of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. He would constantly remind himself of the scale of things, writing passages like this: "Look at everything that exists and observe that it is already in dissolution and in change, and as it were, putrefaction or dispersion, or that everything is so constituted by nature as to die." He was not being morbid but profoundly realistic. He was zooming out to see his own struggles, the politics of his court, and the battles along the frontier, as fleeting events in a universe that is vast, ancient, and utterly indifferent to our personal dramas. The goal is to drain the drama from your immediate concerns by placing them against an infinite backdrop. How does this work in a moment of crisis? You are facing a crushing work deadline, your heart is pounding, and the pressure feels immense. Now activate the view from above, pull your mental camera back, see yourself in your office, a single person in a single building. See your city, then your country, then the planet itself spinning through the void. That report due on Friday, how significant is it in the life of this planet? In the timeline of human history, will anyone remember this project in 100 years? This is not meant to make your work seem pointless, but to put its emotional weight into proper proportion. It allows you to engage with the task not from a place of panicked self-importance, but from a place of calm focus. The same applies to a personal conflict. A harsh word from a friend feels like a wound that will never heal. Now pull back, see the two of you as small figures in the long, complex story of a friendship. See your entire lifespan from childhood to old age and place this single moment within that arc. How large does that one comment appear now? This perspective does not dismiss your feelings, but it gives you the space to choose a wiser response. So bring to mind the single biggest problem occupying your mind right now. Hold it in your thoughts. Now, ask yourself a simple, grounding question. How much will this truly matter 1 year from today? And then take it even further. What about 1 century from now? In the silent, grand theater of cosmic time, your problem, no matter how heavy it feels today, is a passing shadow. This practice returns to you the gift of proportion, allowing you to navigate your life with the steady hand of someone who understands their true place in the world. Don't just accept what happens, learn to love it. This is the radical command of the sixth practice, Amor Fati, a love of one's fate. It is the ultimate act of resilience, where you stop seeing obstacles as enemies and start treating them as the very fuel for your transformation. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Stoic thought, later captured this spirit perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This is not passive resignation. It is an active, enthusiastic embrace of every single event, especially the difficult ones, as necessary and beneficial for your specific journey. The Stoics laid the groundwork for this profound shift in perspective centuries earlier. The philosopher Epictetus gave his students a mental exercise that captures the essence of Amor Fati. He instructed them to approach life with this mindset: welcome every event as if you had prayed for it. Let that sink in for a moment. What if you had actually prayed for the traffic jam, the critical feedback, the sudden setback? How would your relationship with that event change if you saw it not as a disruption, but as an answered request? This reframing turns the entire world from a source of random attacks into a personalized curriculum for your growth. Consider the jarring experience of a sudden job loss. The immediate reaction is often panic, self-doubt, and fear. Amor Fati asks you to reframe that narrative. What if this loss was not a failure, but a necessary redirection? Perhaps it was the universe's way of closing a door you were too comfortable to leave, forcing you to discover a talent for freelance work you never knew you had, or pushing you toward a more meaningful career that aligns with your core values. The obstacle in this new light becomes the opportunity itself. The setback is the path forward. So, bring to mind one significant difficulty from your own past. It could be a painful breakup, a financial struggle, or a personal failure. Now, with the clarity of hindsight, can you list 3 specific ways that event ultimately helped you? Perhaps that breakup taught you the importance of self-reliance and clarified what you truly need in a partner. Maybe that financial scare forced you to develop a budget, a skill that now brings you lasting peace of mind. By hunting for the hidden benefits, you are not denying the pain. You are performing an act of alchemy, transforming the lead of a painful memory into the gold of wisdom. This is how you stop fighting your own story and start loving it, forging a mindset that does not merely endure fate, but enthusiastically claims it as its own. The Stoics weren't morbid, they were realists about life's most certain fact. They understood that to ignore death is to live a half-conscious life, drifting through days without purpose or passion. This 7th practice, Memento Mori, which translates to remember you must die, is their powerful antidote to that drift. It is not an invitation to dwell on fear or darkness, but a tool for life affirmation, a lens that brings what is truly important into sharp, vivid focus. By holding the finitude of your own existence in mind, you are gifted with an immediate and profound sense of urgency and gratitude. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius kept this thought at the forefront of his mind, writing in his private journal, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. He was not being pessimistic. He was installing a mental compass that constantly pointed toward virtue and action, reminding himself that in the final accounting, the only thing of lasting value is the content of your character. This reflection cuts through the noise of daily life with surgical precision. The petty argument with a neighbor, the obsession with accumulating more possessions, the endless scrolling through social media. How do these activities look when viewed through the stark light of your own mortality? They tend to shrink, losing their power to provoke and consume you. A simple way to integrate this is to make it a daily ritual. Each evening, as you finish your review of the day, take one final quiet moment. Acknowledge with clear-eyed calm that this day is gone forever and that there is no guarantee of another. This is not meant to frighten you, but to electrify your appreciation for the day you were just given. It makes ordinary moments, the taste of your morning coffee, the sound of a loved one's laughter, feel like profound gifts. So let me ask you a question designed not to scare you, but to liberate you. If you knew with certainty that you had 1 year left to live, what one thing would you absolutely start doing? And more importantly, what would you have the courage to finally stop? The answer to that question holds the key to living a life not of mere existence, but of profound intention, starting not in some distant future, but in the very next hour of the one life you are guaranteed to have. That flash of anger when someone cuts you off in traffic, what if you could catch it before it controls you? This is the essence of the 8th practice, cognitive distancing from your impressions. It is the art of creating a vital mental pause, a moment of space between the initial spark of a feeling and your full-blown reaction to it. The Stoics called this the power of assent, and it is the very heart of emotional self-regulation. Think of an impression not as a command you must obey, but as a suggestion you are free to examine. Your mind is constantly receiving these raw, uninterpreted signals from the world. A car swerves, a coworker makes a cryptic comment, your phone buzzes with a notification. Each event carries an initial impression, a first draft of reality that your mind immediately tries to write. The practice is to refuse to sign that draft until you have read it carefully. Epictetus gave us the timeless framework for this. He taught that we are disturbed not by things but by our opinions about them. The car cutting you off is just a car changing lanes. The disturbance, the anger, the racing heart comes from the opinion you layer on top of it, the story you tell yourself about disrespect and ruined mornings. Cognitive distancing is the tool that lets you separate the neutral event from the charged story. It is the process of taking the bark off the impression to see the bare wood underneath. Here is how you can practice this in a moment of rising heat. The next time you feel a surge of irritation or anxiety, your first task is to mentally label it. Say to yourself quietly and firmly, "This is just an impression of being insulted," or "This is merely an impression of failure." That simple act of naming it creates instant distance. You are no longer the emotion itself, you are the observer of the emotion. From that place of observation, you can then interrogate the impression. Is this impression true? Is it helpful for me to accept it? What is the objective reality of this situation, stripped of my personal narrative? By inserting this brief pause, you move from being a puppet jerked by the strings of impulse to becoming the puppeteer, the one who holds the strings. So your challenge for the coming day is this. The next time a strong negative emotion rises, whether it is jealousy over a friend's success or frustration with a delayed package, practice that pause. Before you speak, before you type that reactive email, take one conscious breath and mentally label the storm inside you. See it for what it is, a passing weather system in your mind, not the permanent landscape of your life. What if you could want only what is good for your character and reject only what corrupts it? This is the radical reorientation of the 9th practice, the discipline of desire and aversion. It asks you to perform a quiet revolution within your own mind, redirecting your deepest wants and fears away from the chaotic external world and toward the one thing you can truly command, your own moral purpose. The Stoic teacher Epictetus laid out this discipline with breathtaking clarity. He taught that the chief task in life is this: to identify and separate matters so that you can say to every external thing, "You are just an impression and not necessarily what you appear to be." Then you can ask, does this concern what is within my power or what is not? The goal is to desire only what is virtuous and to be averse only to what is vicious, freeing yourself from the exhausting roller coaster of hoping for specific outcomes. This is not about suppressing your desires, but about purifying them. You are not trying to want nothing, you are training yourself to want the right things. The desire for a successful career, for instance, is a natural impulse, but the discipline of desire refines that impulse. It asks you to shift your primary want from the external result, like a promotion or praise, to the internal actions that lead there. Your true desire should be to act with diligence, integrity, and excellence in your work. The outcome, whether you get the promotion or not, is then received with equanimity because it was never the true object of your desire. Your fulfillment came from the act of doing your best, which was entirely within your power all along. Consider preparing for an important presentation. The undisciplined mind desperately desires the applause of the room, the approving nods from the executives. This is a recipe for anxiety because that approval is not yours to give, it is theirs to withhold. The disciplined mind, however, desires only to be clear, well-prepared, and helpful. It wants to present the material with courage and honesty. The external result, the audience's reaction, becomes a separate matter, a preferred outcome but not the source of your peace. You can walk out of that room with your head held high regardless of the response because you achieved what you set out to do. You acted with virtue. Your aversion works in the same way. Do not be averse to criticism or failure, for these are external events. Instead, direct your aversion inward toward acting with cowardice, dishonesty, or laziness. Be repelled by the thought of cutting corners, not by the possibility of missing a deadline. This realignment turns every external event, even the most painful ones, into raw material for practicing virtue. A failure becomes an opportunity to practice resilience. An insult becomes a chance to practice patience. So take a moment and bring to mind one strong desire you are holding onto right now. It could be a desire for a particular person to like you, for a project to succeed, or for a certain possession. Now, ask yourself this revealing question: is the fulfillment of this desire completely within my control? If your honest answer is no, then you have located a source of potential future distress. How can you refine this desire? Can you shift your focus from the uncontrollable outcome to the controllable actions that embody good character? This is the daily work of building a free and self-possessed mind, one purified desire at a time. For the Stoics, the entire purpose of philosophy boiled down to this one idea: living in agreement with nature. This phrase can sound abstract at first, but its meaning is profoundly practical and life-changing. For a human being, our nature is not merely to eat and breathe. Our defining characteristic is our capacity for reason and our innate drive for social cooperation. To live according to nature, therefore, means to use your rational mind to make wise choices and to act with justice and kindness toward your fellow human beings. This is the wellspring of a truly flourishing life. The revolutionary conclusion the Stoics drew from this is that virtue, the excellence of your character, is the only true good. Everything else we typically chase, health, wealth, a good reputation, they classified as preferred indifference. They are called preferred because it is perfectly rational to choose health over sickness or comfort over poverty. But they are indifferent because they do not, in themselves, contribute to your moral worth or your ultimate happiness. They are tools that a virtuous person can use well, or toys that a foolish person can misuse. The Roman philosopher Seneca put it with absolute clarity when he wrote that virtue is of itself sufficient for happiness. Nothing else is needed, not money, not power, not even perfect health. A person who is just, courageous, disciplined, and wise possesses a happiness that no external circumstance can take away. This reframes every single ambition. Consider the pursuit of a promotion at work. If you are chasing it for the status, the bigger office, or the higher salary, you are pursuing a preferred indifferent. Your happiness becomes tethered to an outcome you do not fully control. And if you fail to get it, you will feel you have failed entirely. But if you pursue that promotion as an opportunity to live according to your nature, the entire dynamic shifts. Your goal is not the title itself, but the chance to exercise greater responsibility with integrity, to lead your team with justice, to solve complex problems with wisdom, and to contribute more significantly to your community. The promotion becomes the arena for practicing virtue. Whether you get it or not, you win because you have already succeeded in acting with excellence. The fulfillment is in the striving itself, in the alignment of your actions with your rational and social nature. So take a moment to look at your own life right now. What would it truly mean for you to live according to your nature in your current circumstances? Not in some idealized future, but today. Would it mean listening more patiently to a family member, even when you are tired? Would it mean doing your job with more focused excellence, not for the praise, but for the inner satisfaction of a task well done? The answer is unique to your situation, but the principle is universal. Your path to a contented life does not lie in acquiring more, but in becoming more fully and more virtuously yourself. The Stoics saw themselves not as isolated individuals, but as limbs of a single great body. This is the 11th practice, Sympatheia, the profound recognition of our cosmic interconnectedness. To them, the entire universe was a living, rational being, and every person, every creature, and every element was an integral part of its whole. Just as your hand does not work against your foot, a person living in agreement with nature does not work against their fellow human beings. This vision is the very source of Stoic cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are all citizens of the world, bound by a shared reason and a common origin. It transforms our understanding of justice from a social contract into a natural duty. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this theme in his private writings, using it as an anchor for his actions as emperor. He reminded himself that an integral part of our nature is to work for the common good. He wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." Your well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of the whole. When you act with selfishness or malice, you are not just harming another, you are acting against your own nature, like a hand that has decided to injure the body it belongs to. This perspective instantly fosters empathy and dissolves the modern sense of isolation that so many feel. The next time you find yourself dealing with a frustrating or difficult person, pause and apply this lens. Instead of seeing them as an obstacle or an enemy, see them as a fellow citizen of the same vast cosmos. Recognize that they, too, are acting from their own set of impressions and judgments, however flawed they may seem. Your shared humanity is more fundamental than your temporary disagreement. This does not mean you must tolerate poor behavior, but it allows you to respond from a place of constructive correction rather than raw irritation, seeking to help a fellow limb of the body rather than to defeat an opponent. So this week, what one small action can you take that consciously benefits your wider community, your larger body? It does not need to be a grand gesture. It could be picking up a piece of litter on your street, not because it is yours, but because the street belongs to all of you. It could be offering a genuine compliment to a stressed coworker, strengthening the hive. Or it could simply be holding the door open for a stranger with the quiet understanding that you are, in a very real sense, holding the door for yourself. In a world that prizes speaking up, the Stoics found profound power in staying quiet. This 12th practice, the art of silence and listening, is not about social awkwardness or a lack of ideas. It is a disciplined choice to value reflection and understanding over the noise of your own voice, protecting your inner peace and unlocking deeper wisdom. Your tongue is not an independent actor, it is the direct messenger of your internal judgments. When you speak without thinking, you are broadcasting your unexamined impressions to the world, often amplifying their power over you. Gossip, complaint, and harsh words almost always spring from a judgment that has not been put through the filter of reason. The philosopher Epictetus laid down a simple but demanding rule for conversation. He advised to be mostly silent and to speak only when necessary and to be brief. He warned that when you are careless with speech, you are inevitably carried away by the habit of your own ungoverned tongue. Seneca echoed this, observing that to be silent is not the same as to be quiet, for true quiet is found in the tranquility of the mind, not just the absence of sound. He saw pointless chatter as a form of inner fragmentation, a scattering of your mental energy. A practical way to cultivate this is to enter your next conversation with a new goal. Your task is not to impress, to correct, or to steer the discussion, but simply to listen with your full attention. Make a conscious effort not to formulate your response while the other person is still speaking. Instead, absorb their words completely. Listen to understand the person behind the words, not just to prepare your counter-argument. You will be amazed at what you hear when you stop the internal monologue. The spaces between words will fill with meaning, and your eventual response when it comes will be more thoughtful and far more impactful. So for the rest of today, become an observer of your own speech. How many of your words are spoken to fill an uncomfortable silence? How often are you seeking to prove your own worth or win a minor social victory? Each time you feel the urge to speak, insert that brief stoic pause and ask, is this necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? In that moment of chosen silence, you reclaim not only your peace but your power. Let's perform a simple audit of the riches you already possess. Close your eyes for just a moment and take an inventory. The air filling your lungs, the solid ground beneath your feet, the functioning of your senses, these are not small things. They are the foundational gifts of existence, yet we treat them as background noise while our gaze remains fixed on a distant horizon of what we lack. This is the 13th practice, cultivating gratitude for the present moment, and it is the most direct antidote to the poison of the if-only mindset. If only I had a better job, a bigger house, a different partner, then I would be happy. Stoicism shatters this illusion by relentlessly returning our attention to the only time we truly own, the eternal now. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but this present moment is the one sliver of reality you can actually grasp and appreciate. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, leading armies on a hostile frontier, constantly practiced this. In his private journal, he listed the things he could be grateful for, even in the midst of war and political turmoil. He wrote of his gratitude for the wife he had, for the children who were healthy, and for the teachers who had shaped his mind. He did this not because his life was perfect, but precisely because it was not. He was training his mind to see the abundance that was already there, to find the light without denying the darkness. This is not naive positivity, it is a strategic recalibration of your attention. A practical way to embed this is to create a daily gratitude ritual. Each evening, perhaps as you lie in bed before sleep, mentally list 3 specific things from your day for which you are genuinely thankful. The key is specificity. Do not just say "my family." Name the precise moment your child laughed uncontrollably at a silly joke. Do not just say "my health." Appreciate the specific feeling of strength in your legs as you walked up the stairs. This act of pinpointing forces your mind out of its vague yearning and into the concrete reality of your lived experience. So I ask you this reflective question, one that can instantly rewire your perspective. What is one thing you are taking for granted right now that someone else would be profoundly grateful to have? Is it the simple comfort of a roof over your head, the device on which you are hearing this message, the presence of a single person who cares about you? By seeing your life through the eyes of someone who lacks that very thing, you perform an instant magic trick, transforming an ordinary backdrop into a shining privilege. This daily practice of grateful recognition is how you build a life rich with contentment, not by acquiring more, but by fully possessing what you already have. What if you had an inner compass of perfect wisdom and virtue to consult at any moment? This is the promise of the 14th practice, modeling the sage. The Stoics often spoke of the sage not as a historical figure like Socrates or Cato, but as an idealized benchmark of human perfection, a person who lives in flawless harmony with nature and reason. This ideal is not meant to be an intimidating, unreachable standard that makes you feel inadequate. Its entire purpose is to serve as a North Star for your own moral reasoning, a tool for aspiration and self-measurement. The ancient texts describe the sage as someone who is free from destructive passions, who acts with perfect logic and justice, and who remains undisturbed by the chaos of external events. They are unshakable not because they are unfeeling, but because their judgments are always aligned with what is true and good. When you are faced with a difficult choice, the most powerful question you can ask yourself is not what is easiest or most profitable, but what would the sage do in this exact situation? This question forces you to bypass your immediate emotions and access a higher perspective grounded in virtue. Imagine you are at work and you witness a colleague receiving credit for your idea. Your initial impression might be one of anger and betrayal, a burning desire to publicly expose the injustice. Now pause and consult your inner sage. The sage, free from the passion of vengeful anger, would recognize that reputation and credit are external things, preferred indifference. Their primary concern would be to act with justice and for the common good. So what action would that be? It might involve a private, calm conversation with a colleague or your manager, not to accuse, but to clarify contributions for the benefit of the project's integrity. The sage would act with courage but without malice, focusing on what is right rather than on personal slight. Or consider a personal relationship where you feel the urge to say something sharp and critical. The inner sage, valuing harmony and truth, would guide you to speak with kindness and honesty, or perhaps to choose silence if the words would only cause harm without benefit. Your task is not to become the perfect sage, but to use that ideal as a mirror for your own progress. So take a moment now to define your own inner sage. What 3 core qualities would this wisest version of yourself embody? Perhaps it is unflinching courage in the face of social pressure. Maybe it is profound patience with the mistakes of others. Or it could be the quiet discipline to do what is right, even when no one is watching. Write these 3 qualities down, keep them close. The next time you face a moment of uncertainty or temptation, bring this idealized self to mind and let that compass guide your next step. This is not about preparing for disaster, it is about falling in love with your life all over again. We have already explored the premeditation of adversity, a tool for mental fortification. Now we turn to its gentler, more poignant cousin, the practice of negative visualization. Its purpose is not to build resilience against future shocks, but to awaken a deep, present moment gratitude for the ordinary blessings you might currently overlook. By briefly and deliberately imagining the absence of someone or something you cherish, you perform a kind of emotional magic, stripping away the veil of familiarity to reveal the stunning gift hiding in plain sight. While the ancient Stoics did not give this a formal name, the spirit of it breathes through their writings. In his letters, Seneca reflected on the importance of appreciating our friends while they are with us. He advised that we should love our dear ones as if they were one day to become strangers, recognizing that all we are given is on loan from fortune, to be called back without notice. This is not a morbid fixation on loss, but a profound celebration of the temporary. It is the conscious decision to hold your life with open hands, appreciating its beauty precisely because you know it cannot last forever. A practical application is simple yet transformative. The next time you are with a person you love, perhaps your child or a close friend, pause for just 5 seconds. As you look at them, allow yourself to mentally picture your world without them in it. Feel the quiet emptiness of that imaginary reality. Then open your eyes and return to the present where they are still vibrantly here. Notice the immediate surge of warmth, the sharpened focus, the overwhelming thankfulness that floods in. The minor annoyance you felt with them moments before may simply dissolve, replaced by a clear-eyed recognition of their irreplaceable presence. You can do the same with a possession or an ability. As you sip your morning coffee, briefly imagine what it would be like to never taste it again. As you walk through your home, consider what it would feel like to lose it. This is not an invitation to anxiety, but a ritual of appreciation. It transforms your relationship with your world from one of passive ownership to one of active, joyful receiving. So I invite you to try this right now. Bring to mind one person or one thing you deeply value, something you might take for granted. Close your eyes and let the image form. Now, for just a heartbeat, let it vanish from your world. Sit with the quiet ache of that absence. Then, release the thought and return to the truth of its presence. What do you feel in the space between that imagined loss and your current reality? That powerful, immediate shift is the heartbeat of gratitude, a daily practice that ensures you never need to lose something in order to finally understand how much it was truly worth. A great athlete focuses on their form and strategy, not the scoreboard. This single shift in attention is the core of the 16th practice, focusing on process over outcome. When your primary goal becomes the quality of your own actions, a remarkable thing happens. The paralyzing anxiety about results simply evaporates. You are no longer a hostage to external validation, because your sense of worth is generated internally from the integrity of your own effort. The philosopher Epictetus offered a beautiful framework for this. He advised his students to see life as a play where the author has assigned you a role. Your only job, he said, is to act that role well, whether it is a major part or a minor one. The casting, the script, and the reviews are not your concern. Your entire focus must be on the performance you give, on playing your part with excellence, courage, and justice. This is where you find true and lasting satisfaction, not in the applause, but in the knowledge that you performed your lines with conviction. Consider an artist at her easel. If her mind is fixed on the gallery's opinion or the final sale price, every brushstroke becomes laden with fear and expectation. The creative joy is suffocated by the pressure of the outcome. But if she focuses entirely on the process, on the way the colors mix, on the flow of the brush, and on expressing her authentic vision, then she is free. The painting may or may not be a commercial success, but the act of creating it becomes a success in itself, a virtuous exercise of her skill and passion. The same principle applies to a student studying for a crucial exam. Obsessing over the final grade creates endless mental noise and self-doubt. But when the student reorients their goal to the process itself, to understanding the material thoroughly and studying with consistent diligence, the anxiety lifts. The outcome, the grade, becomes a separate event. The student's victory is already secured each day they sit down and engage deeply with their work, regardless of the number that eventually appears on the paper. So bring to mind one important goal you are currently pursuing, a goal where you feel a tight knot of attachment to a specific result. Now gently untie that knot. What would it look like to completely let go of that outcome and pour all of your energy and attention solely into the quality of the actions you take to get there? How would your daily approach change if your only measure of success was the integrity of your own effort, moment by moment? As Seneca wrote, life is long if you know how to use it. This single sentence dismantles our most common complaint and replaces it with a profound personal responsibility. The Stoics saw time not as empty hours to be filled, but as the very substance of life itself. To squander time is to squander your existence, and this practice is the disciplined, intentional stewardship of your most finite resource. It is memento mori in daily action, the recognition that each passing moment is a tiny death, never to be reclaimed. In his piercing essay on the shortness of life, Seneca confronts this human folly with stunning clarity. He observes that people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be greedy. We complain that life is short, yet we allow our days to be stolen by trivial pursuits, by the demands of others, and by our own lack of conscious direction. The disciplined use of time, therefore, is not about ruthless productivity. It is about aligning your hours with the pursuit of virtue, ensuring that your life is not just long in years but deep in meaning. A powerful way to begin this practice is with a simple weekly audit. Set aside 30 minutes, perhaps as part of your evening review, and look back at your past week. Take a blank page and draw 3 columns. Label the first virtuous or necessary. This is for time spent acting with courage, justice, or wisdom, and for essential duties that support your life and the common good. The second column is preferred indifferent. Here, you place activities that are neutral but enjoyable, like healthy leisure, entertainment, or social meals. The final column is vice or wasteful. This is for moments lost to anger, anxiety, gossip, mindless scrolling, or any action that actively works against your nature. Do not judge yourself harshly as you do this. The goal is simply to see with clear eyes where your life is currently flowing. You might be stunned to discover how many hours vanish into that third column, poured into a vessel with a hole in the bottom. Now, bring this reflection down to the last 24 hours. Cast your mind over the entire span of one single day, from waking until sleeping. Can you account for it? Not in a general sense, but with specific clarity. Identify just one pocket of time, perhaps a 30-minute window, that slipped away into distraction or worry. What would it have looked like to reclaim that half hour for something that truly mattered? Could you have used it for a thoughtful conversation, for reading a page of philosophy, for a walk in nature, or simply for sitting in quiet gratitude? That one small reclamation is the beginning of a life that is not short, but expansively and intentionally long, a life where you are finally the author of your own time. Your character is revealed not in grand gestures, but in how you treat the checkout clerk, the waiter, your colleague. This daily, unobserved behavior is the true testing ground for the 18th practice, the active application of justice and fairness in all your dealings. For the Stoics, justice was not merely a social ideal or a legal concept. It was one of the 4 cardinal virtues, a fundamental expression of living in agreement with your rational and social nature. It encompasses fairness, kindness, and our innate duty to contribute to the common good of the human community. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice this virtue, to see every person you meet as an equal citizen of the same cosmos, inherently deserving of your fairness. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this duty in his private moments. He wrote that the best way to avenge yourself is to not become like the wrongdoer, and that when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself that the people you meet today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But he did not say this to justify his own harshness. He followed it by saying that he cannot be harmed by any of them, for no one can involve him in what is degrading, nor can he feel anger against a fellow citizen because they are made for cooperation. His justice was an active choice, a commitment to do the right thing even when surrounded by wrong, especially when no one was watching to give him credit. Consider the practical applications that weave through an ordinary day. It is the choice to give honest, constructive feedback to a subordinate, even when it would be easier to offer empty praise. It is the deliberate act of ensuring a colleague receives proper credit for their idea in a meeting, resisting the silent temptation to let the praise fall on you. It is the decision to stand up for someone who is being treated unfairly in a conversation, even when it is socially safer to remain silent. It is the integrity to return the extra change a cashier mistakenly gave you, honoring the principle over the petty gain. Each of these moments is a brick in the foundation of your character. So let me ask you a revealing question, one that requires quiet honesty. When was the last time you had an opportunity to be unfairly advantaged, to take a little more credit, to keep a little extra money, or to let someone else bear a blame that was partly yours? What did your choice in that unobserved moment reveal about the current state of your inner citadel? The answer is not for public confession, but for private reflection, a compass reading that shows you exactly where your moral north truly lies. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world, slept on a simple camp bed. This image is not about a lack of resources, but a profound declaration of independence from them. The 19th practice, physical minimalism, is the active removal of material clutter, not to live in barren emptiness, but to create a spacious and uncluttered mind. The Stoics understood that every possession you own also owns a small piece of your attention. The goal is to reduce these external anchors, freeing your mental energy to focus on the only thing that truly matters, the cultivation of your character. The Cynic philosopher Diogenes, who carried all his worldly goods in a small pouch, embodied this ideal of radical freedom. He was demonstrating that a person unburdened by possessions is also unburdened by the fear of losing them. Seneca, despite his wealth, championed this internal stance, writing that poverty adjusted to the law of nature is great wealth. He meant that when you consciously choose to need very little, you make yourself invulnerable to the whims of fortune. This practice is a direct attack on the anxiety that comes from attachment. Consider the drawer in your home that is so jammed with miscellaneous items it barely closes. Every time you see it, a tiny, subconscious part of your brain registers the disorder and the unresolved decisions it represents. It is a silent drain on your focus. Now imagine that drawer cleaned out, holding only 3 useful, purposeful items. The mental relief is palpable. A practical way to begin is with a 1 in, 1 out rule. For every new item you bring into your home, 1 existing item must leave. This simple discipline forces a moment of conscious evaluation with every potential acquisition, breaking the automatic cycle of accumulation. Another powerful method is a monthly review. Set a timer for 20 minutes and walk through a single room with a bag for donations. Your question for each object is not "Do I like this?" but "Does this serve a necessary or virtuous purpose in my life today?" The winter coat you haven't worn in 3 years does not serve you, but it could serve someone else shivering in the cold, transforming your clutter into an act of justice. So I invite you to take that walk through your home this week, not as a chore, but as a philosophical exercise. As you move from room to room, identify just 3 items you own that do not serve a necessary or virtuous purpose. It could be a gadget still in its box, a book you will never read again, or a decorative object that no longer brings you any real joy. Hold each one and ask, does this object support my peace of mind, or does it subtly reinforce my dependence on external things? The act of letting go is not a loss, but a declaration of freedom, a quiet victory for your inner citadel. Stoics are not unfeeling robots insulated from the full spectrum of human experience. They strive for a state called Sympatheia, which is not a cold numbness, but a profound freedom from the destructive passions that hijack your reason and steal your peace. This is the 20th practice, cultivating a state of mind undisturbed by irrational and excessive emotions like consuming rage, corrosive envy, or paralyzing fear. The Stoics made a crucial distinction between initial, involuntary feelings and the full-blown passions we assent to. A sudden flash of annoyance when someone interrupts you is a healthy propassion, a raw signal from your nervous system. The choice to feed that spark into a 3-day fire of simmering resentment, however, is a passion. The goal is not to eliminate the initial signal, but to master your response to it, preserving your inner clarity. Seneca, in his powerful essay on anger, dissected this passion with stunning precision. He wrote that anger is a brief madness, and that no plague has cost the human race more dearly. He observed that the greatest harm from anger falls upon the person who possesses it, for it is a torment you willingly carry inside yourself, a poison you brew for your own spirit. Think of the last time you felt a true surge of rage. Your heart pounded, your vision narrowed, and your thoughts raced toward retaliation. In that heated moment, your capacity for wise judgment was completely offline. You were no longer a rational actor, but a vessel for a destructive force. The same applies to overwhelming fear. The initial jolt of adrenaline when you face a risk is a useful biological propassion. But when you assent to that fear, letting it spiral into catastrophic fantasies and days of anxious paralysis, it becomes a passion that confines your life. The practice begins with recognizing the moment of choice. You feel the initial sting of envy when a friend shares their good news. That is the involuntary impression. The passion begins the moment you choose to dwell on it, to tell yourself a story about unfairness and your own inadequacy, allowing that single feeling to color your entire day. So take a quiet moment now and identify one recurring passion that frequently disrupts your inner peace. Is it a simmering resentment toward a family member? A gripping anxiety about your finances? Now trace it back to its source. What is the specific judgment lying beneath it? The resentment might be fueled by the judgment that you are being treated unfairly and deserve to be angry. The anxiety might be powered by the judgment that you are not capable of handling a potential future problem. By exposing this underlying belief, you bring it into the light of your reason, where you can finally question its truth and, in doing so, loosen its powerful grip on your mind. Just as you feed your body, you must consistently feed your mind with wisdom. This is the 21st practice, the daily habit of reading and reflecting on philosophical texts. Stoicism is not a set of ideas you learn once and then forget. It is a living discipline that requires constant renewal, a fire that must be stoked each day with fresh fuel. Engaging directly with the ancient texts is how you keep the principles vibrant and active in your thoughts, turning abstract concepts into instinctive reactions. Seneca, in his letters to his friend Lucilius, was adamant about this need for daily nourishment. He wrote that we should not be content with a mere taste of philosophy. We must digest it thoroughly. He advised reading a little each day, but reading deeply so that the words sink from your ears into your soul. He compared it to bees gathering nectar from many flowers to produce a single, unified honey, suggesting we should do the same with the wisdom we collect, transforming it into a personal and powerful guide for living. A practical way to begin is disarmingly simple. Commit to reading just one page each morning from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations or from one of Seneca's letters. Do not rush through it as a task to be checked off. Read the passage slowly, aloud if you can, and then sit with it for a few moments of quiet reflection. Ask yourself, what is the single core idea here? How does this apply to a challenge I am likely to face today? Perhaps you read a passage on dealing with difficult people. Carry that single thought with you as you go about your day, letting it simmer in the back of your mind, ready to surface the moment you encounter a frustrating interaction. This turns your reading from an academic exercise into a real-time tool for navigating your life. So your challenge is this: commit to just 10 minutes of this practice each day for the next week. One page, a few moments of reflection, and a conscious effort to apply one insight before the day is done. At the end of that week, pause and ask yourself a single question. Has this small, consistent investment begun to change the quality of my judgments when I am under pressure? The obstacle is the way. This famous Stoic maxim is not a comforting slogan, but a declaration of how reality works. It is the active, daily practice of taking whatever stands in your path and using it as the very material for your progress. This 20-second practice is the dynamic application of Amor, Fati, where you stop merely accepting your fate and start wielding it, transforming every impediment into a training ground for virtue. Marcus Aurelius, facing revolts and plagues, wrote this powerful reminder to himself: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He was not ignoring the difficulty. He was recognizing that the barrier itself contains the precise lessons you need to move forward. A blocked road forces you to find a new route, building your resourcefulness. A difficult person teaches you patience and clarity in communication. A failure teaches you resilience and humility. The obstacle is not a detour from your path, it is the curriculum. Consider the mundane frustration of a cancelled flight. Your initial impression is one of anger and wasted time, a major disruption to your plans. Now apply the maxim. This obstacle is the way to practice what? It is the way to practice profound patience, to accept what you cannot control without internal turmoil. It is the way to practice adaptability, to calmly rebook your travel and rearrange your schedule. It is the way to practice presence, giving you the unexpected gift of 3 uninterrupted hours to finally read that book you have been carrying for months. The cancelled flight did not ruin your day. It provided a masterclass in Stoic virtues you would not have signed up for otherwise. So bring to mind one current obstacle blocking your path right now, whether it is a difficult project at work, a strained relationship, or a personal limitation. Now look directly at it and ask this transformative question: what 3 specific virtues is this obstacle forcing me to develop? Is it teaching me courage to have a difficult conversation? Is it demanding creativity to solve a novel problem? Is it cultivating patience as I wait for a resolution? Name those 3 hidden gifts. By identifying them, you cease to be a victim of circumstance and become the student of your own life, discovering that the way forward was hidden inside the wall all along. How much of your life do you spend on autopilot, mentally elsewhere while your body goes through the motions? This 23rd practice, mindful engagement in routine tasks, is how you reclaim those lost moments and turn them into a training ground for presence. It is the simple but profound act of bringing your full, non-judgmental attention to the most mundane activities, from washing a coffee cup to waiting in a line. While not a term found in ancient texts, this practice is the living embodiment of the Stoic command to attend to the present moment and the task at hand with unwavering excellence. It is meditation in action, weaving philosophy directly into the fabric of your daily life. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly urged himself toward this focus, writing that you could be a good person even if you never do anything but work diligently at the task before you, concentrating every part of your soul on what you are doing in the most precise and respectful way. This is that respectful way, treating a simple chore as if it were a sacred ritual. A practical way to begin is with the next time you wash your hands. Instead of letting your mind race to your next meeting or a past conversation, bring your entire awareness to the sensations. Feel the temperature of the water on your skin. Notice the scent and slickness of the soap. Observe the movement of your hands and the sound of the water running. When you notice your attention has drifted, which it will, gently and without self-criticism, guide it back to the physical reality of the task. You can do the same while walking from your car to a building. Release the destination from your mind and focus entirely on the journey. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet with each step. Notice the rhythm of your breath and take in the sights and sounds around you without layering a story of judgment or hurry on top of them. So for tomorrow, I challenge you to choose just one routine task you normally rush through on autopilot. It could be brushing your teeth, drinking your morning tea, or folding a basket of laundry. Your only goal for those few minutes is to perform that single activity with your complete and undivided attention, as if the entire universe consisted of you and that one task. In that quiet space of focused engagement, you are not just completing a chore, you are building the very muscle of a mind that is fully, peacefully, and powerfully here. How do you know you control your pleasures and not the other way around? This is the piercing question at the heart of the 24th practice, the art of self-denial for clarity. It is a deliberate, short-term abstinence from a specific comfort, not as a punishment, but as a vital test of your own freedom. This is voluntary discomfort with a microscope, targeting one particular desire to prove to yourself that you are its master, not its servant. The Stoic teacher Musonius Rufus was a powerful advocate for this kind of training. In his lectures, he argued that mastering our desires is the very foundation of a good life. He believed that practicing hardship, like choosing simple food or enduring cold, was essential precisely because it trains the soul to be content with little and to remain unshaken when fortune takes things away. He saw this not as deprivation but as the path to true self-command. A practical way to apply this is to design a simple, 24-hour fast from something that has a subtle hold on you. This is not about giving up forever, but about a brief, intentional break to observe the mechanics of your own mind. You could fast from all social media, noticing the automatic urge to reach for your phone and the slight anxiety that arises when you resist it. That anxiety is the exact signal of your dependency, the chain you are learning to see and loosen. Or you could abstain from sugar for a single day, observing the cravings and the mental negotiations your mind attempts. You could even fast from complaining, making it a 24-hour vow to state facts without layering on judgment or lament. Each time you bite back a complaint, you feel the weight of a habit you are carrying without even knowing it. So I ask you this reflective question, one that requires quiet honesty. What one pleasure or habit do you feel has a subtle, almost invisible hold over your daily choices? Is it the first scroll through your phone in the morning, the need for a sweet treat after every meal, the comfort of venting about a problem rather than solving it? Identify that one thread. Now, consider what you would learn about your own freedom if you chose to gently pull on it, not by cutting it forever, but by taking a single, conscious day away from its grasp. Your environment is a living textbook of philosophy if you know how to read it. Every person you meet, from a coworker to a stranger on the street, is a potential lesson in virtue, a real-time demonstration of courage, wisdom, justice, or moderation. This final practice, contemplating the virtues of others, transforms the world around you from a source of competition or frustration into an endless source of inspiration and learning. Instead of allowing jealousy or cynicism to color your view, you actively hunt for the good, training your eye to spot the quiet acts of character that happen all around you every single day. The Roman philosopher Seneca offered powerful guidance on this, advising his friend Lucilius to keep before his eyes the examples of great men and women who have lived virtuously. He was not suggesting you compare yourself unfairly, but that you use their luminous examples as a mirror for your own growth, a constant reminder of what is possible for a human being to achieve. This practice starves the petty emotion of envy because you are no longer seeing another person's success as a threat to your own, but as a masterclass in how to live. When a colleague receives a promotion, instead of feeling a pang of resentment, you can choose to observe the specific virtues that likely contributed to their advancement. Did they demonstrate exceptional discipline in their work? Did they show wisdom in their decision-making? Did they act with justice and fairness toward their team? By breaking down their success into its component virtues, you turn a potential trigger for jealousy into a practical lesson you can apply to your own life. Or notice the simple grace of a stranger who holds a door open with a genuine smile, a small but real act of kindness in an often rushed world. See the parent in a grocery store managing a child's tantrum with profound patience, a living example of temperance in the face of frustration. Every one of these observations is a brick you can use to build your own character. So I leave you with this final, reflective prompt. Who is one person in your immediate life, right now, who consistently embodies a specific Stoic virtue? It might be a friend who meets every setback with unshakable courage, or a family member whose quiet wisdom always brings calm to a chaotic situation. Identify that person and the virtue they exemplify. Then, ask yourself this simple question: what one specific action can I take this week to learn from their example and bring more of that same virtue into my own daily actions? These 25 practices are not a checklist to complete, but a single, unified system for building a mind that cannot be broken by circumstance. Future-proofing your mindset has nothing to do with predicting tomorrow's stock market or next year's trends. It is about the deliberate construction of an inner citadel so resilient that no external event, whether fortune or disaster, can shatter your peace or derail your purpose. The entire journey circles back to three timeless themes: your unwavering focus on what is within your control, your relentless pursuit of virtue as the only true good, and the transformative power of infusing these principles into your smallest daily actions. This is not a philosophy to be admired from a distance. It is a craft to be practiced with your hands every single day. The freedom this brings is not the freedom from challenge, but the freedom within it. The philosopher Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, understood this freedom better than anyone. He offered a final, liberating promise, stating that philosophy does not promise to secure anything external for man. Otherwise, it would be admitting something that lies beyond its proper subject matter. For just as wood is the material of the carpenter, and bronze the material of the sculptor, the art of living has each person's own life as its material. Your life, with all its unique joys and struggles, is the raw material you have been given. The 25 practices are your tools. Now, the most important step is yours to take. As you look back over this exploration, which single practice will you choose to pick up and use first, starting tomorrow? Will it be the morning premeditation, the evening review, or perhaps the conscious act of finding the good in others? Share the one that resonated most deeply with you in the comments below. I would truly love to hear about your journey. If you found this guide valuable, subscribe for more content that turns ancient wisdom into practical, everyday strength.